Cool. All right. Well, I'll try to keep everybody awake after lunch. I know I start going down after I eat, so I'll have to try to up my game here. Okay. So we talked about being on time. We got that, right? I know I keep hitting that because it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Sorry to take it out on you. We talked about calling ahead to the customer, right? So we got our information. We're going to Zillow the house. We're going to try to dive into any history, right? That's what we're going to do when we get our information. After we get our information, we call the customer. If you call them, unless your office calls, but if you call them, call your customer, sound excited. That's your first impression. You're going to a job interview, that's your first impression with the customer, okay? I like to use Happy Tuesday, Happy Wednesday. It just gives kind of a good feeling to the homeowner that you're excited to head out to their house, okay? Then we make ourselves early, right? Now, when we arrive at the house, truck placement, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these elementary things, but they are important. When you get to the house, you should park in front of like the window of the house. So generally the garage is on one side or the other, depending on the age of the home and things like that. But generally if you get into developments, there's a garage on one side or the other. You want to park in front of the window portion of the house. You want them to see your wrapped truck. They want them to see you get out with your uniform on, okay? That builds value and trust. It makes people feel good knowing you have a wrapped, labeled truck, and if there's a license number on it, it even makes it look more professional, and it makes people feel cute, funny, fresh inside, right? So make sure you park there. Obviously, if it's a long driveway, if it's illegal, if it's a dangerous road to park on, then you can park in the driveway, but only if those scenarios come up, all right? Does anybody have backup alarms on their trucks? You back up, the alarm goes off. Use those to your advantage. So when you get in front of a house, pull up, put it in reverse, get that beeper going and back up just a little bit. The neighbors will start looking out the window and they're going to see your truck. Free advertising. They think it's garbage day, maybe. Think it's snow plow, depending on where you live. Okay? So use that. All right. Now your approach. So you have maybe your first impression if you got on the phone with the customer. Now it's your first visual impression with the homeowner. So we want to get out of the truck quickly. So don't sit in your truck, pull in front of the house, close out your last job or finishing up a phone call. Do that like a block down the road. Don't do that right in front of the home. Remember, your homeowners are watching out the window. They're looking for you. And if you park in front of the house and you're on the phone for even a minute or two, it's going to feel like 10 minutes for them looking out the window watching you. Remember, they're always watching you. Okay, so get that stuff done a block away, finish up your phone call, finish your lunch, whatever you got to do, then pull up in front of the house and get out of the truck as quick as possible. Don't do that stuff in front of the house. All right? Make sure your uniform's clean. Make sure you have breath mints or spray or something. Nobody likes to buy things from somebody who has bad breath. If you're a smoker or chew, make sure you really use that stuff because there are some people who get very, very turned off of cigarette smoke smell, especially if they used to smoke and they have kicked that habit. All right? Make sure you have your floor savers with you. Don't have any gum in your mouth. Make sure you have a pen. I would highly suggest a clipboard. Possibly a bag with your price guide in there, maybe your circuit analyzer, your glow tester. I call them glow testers, like a fluke tester, whatever you guys call them. No tools, though. I am an advocate of not bringing any tools into the home except maybe your circuit analyzer, maybe a screwdriver, and a glow tester. Other than that, I'm a firm believer of don't bring in any tools into the house Because if you bring tools in the house, what's going to happen? You're going to start fixing crap without charging for it. You'll get yourself into trouble, especially if you're just starting in this industry. Some of you veterans may not fall into that trap, but it's easy to fall into it if your tools are right there. Maybe if you have job packets, those will be in your bag, and your question sheet, which we'll get to. Walk swiftly up to the door. When you get halfway up the driveway, I always smiled and I waved at the house. Now, again, you're going to think it's corny and it's going to be uncomfortable, but right on the other side of uncomfortable is success. Well, if you're halfway up the driveway and you smile and you wave at the house, if you do this every time, you'll be amazed how many people will open the door for you. They're literally watching you walk up the driveway, because they think you see them, even though you usually can't. And if they're not looking out the window, who is? The nosy neighbors are all looking out the door. Oh, the Andersons have an electrician over at their house. Everybody's nosy in these neighborhoods, right? Which brings me to my next point. You are always being watched. Always assume you're being watched. When you have that uniform on, you are always being watched, way more than you even think you are. Your customers are watching you, obviously, right? Your kids are watching you. Visitors at the home, you might be working at somebody's home and they have a visitor over. They're watching you. If you're at a rental property, when we talked about landlords and tenants, that renter might be a homeowner someday. They're watching you. All right? If there's a nanny or a home caretaker at the house, they're watching you. Your apprentices are really watching you. They're not only watching your electrical work, but they're watching how you're talking to the customers. They're watching the tools you use. They're watching how you're using your meters. You're supposed to be what they want to be. They are watching you like a hawk. So if you have a crappy, shitty uniform, they're going to think that's okay, and it's not. If you have ugly boots on, they're going to think they can wear ugly boots. If you wear a sweatshirt over your uniform and you don't wear your company labeled coat, they're going to think they can wear that. They're learning from you, not just electrical work, but how to talk to customers, how to act, how to dress, and how to be professional. Who wants their mentor to be a slob? We want to learn from the best, right? If you want to learn from the best, they want to learn from the best. So be the best. Show them what a textbook technician should look like and act like. All right, people driving. When you're at a gas station, you're at a restaurant, you're at a stoplight, people are watching you. I pulled up to a stoplight once and there was a Benjamin Franklin franchise plumber next to me and he's spitting his chew into a clear Dr. Pepper bottle. Now, I don't care about that, but I know if my wife's seen that, she'd never hire that company to come to their house. You're being watched as a technician, even driving. Cameras. Never think you're in the home alone. With Nest cameras and Blink cameras and nanny cams and all these things, if your customer's not home, assume they're home. They can hear you, they can watch you, you're always being watched. I had a kind of a funny story and I tell it. It's a little embarrassing that this happened in my company, but it's kind of funny. So I had this apprentice, this is an HVAC apprentice, and they didn't think the homeowners had cameras, or they didn't think that far. And one of the apprentices put the guy's sweater on and started mimicking the homeowner on this install. And they had a camera, and we found out about it. And the homeowner, he was actually really cool about it. He actually kind of giggled a little bit. But that could have went really bad. And this was 5-6 years ago. Cameras weren't as prevalent as they are today. But I mean, I bet 75% of the houses you go into have cameras now, Wi-Fi cameras. So you got to be careful. Even when I was told, I was laughing, but I'm I had to write the guy up for it. But The point is he got caught. Like, you got to assume you're being watched all the time. And they can hear also. So we've had it too where nobody's home, but they're listening, and I got 2 installers there that are just screwing around. You know, they're ripping on each other, they're teasing each other, or maybe even they're kind of yelling at their apprentice for screwing up or something. Again, assume somebody's listening all the time. If you even kiddingly say something to your coworker in a house, somebody can take that as, these guys don't know what the hell they're doing in my house, and they're doing my electrical work, and they're yelling at each other, even though you may even be kidding. So you have to just realize you're being watched. The neighbors are watching you. Like I said, you walk halfway up the driveway, you smile and wave at the house. If they're not looking out, the neighbors are watching. They're being watched. Your competition is watching you like a hawk. How many times do you drive down the road and you see another electrical company? You're judging their truck, their logo, the driver, their uniform, their phone number, where are they from, why are they in this area? If you're doing it to them, they're doing it to you. So when you have a dirty truck, you're being judged, you're being watched. If you have a tail light out, if you have a headlight out, whatever the case may be, you're being watched. And then we have the media. If it's not enough that we got all these people watching it, we got the frickin' news on our ass too. You ever see these like hidden camera investigations? Electricians ripping off homeowners in the Southwest Metro. Details at 5. You could be that person. Okay? They literally set up sting operations, and it's the media. They'll turn it around to make it negative, whether it was or wasn't. This technician told the customer they have to put all new outlets and switches in it. Only one was bad. They're horrible. You know, like, that's the way they work. So, you got to just assume you're being watched all the time when that uniform is on. It's extremely important, okay? Value, like, trust, and make a friend. So, we knock on the door. I don't have a door. I'm not going to go over there. Knock on the door, take 2 steps back and turn to the side. Why are we turning to the side? It's a less confrontational, right? So if I knock on the door, I take 2 steps back and I turn to the side. Now the customer feels they have an escape route. It's just a mental thing. If I'm standing straight onto the customer, they feel like they can't get away from me. Again, I want to build a good impression. I don't want them to feel threatened, intimidated, or sometimes women will call it an icky feeling with a guy. We don't want that. So 2 steps back, turn to the side, makes them feel better. All right? And we knock on the door. Generally, we don't ring the doorbell. Friends generally knock. Salespeople ring doorbells. We want to be friends. So what I always did, I would knock on the door. Oh, also, we don't ring doorbells. Sometimes they have small kids like napping in the house or babies. You ring the doorbell, baby wakes up. You don't want to go into that house now. You got a mother furious with you, and she will not be paying attention to anything you're saying. All right? So knock on the door, 2 steps back, turn to the side, wait a little while, knock on the door maybe a little harder, 2 steps back, turn to the side. If nobody comes, okay, fine, then ring the doorbell. But I would save that doorbell for last resort. Okay? Smile. Smile and eye contact. Eye contact means you are confident. You might be an electrician that only has a few years experience. You're not that confident in your skills yet. You gotta have to fake it till you make it. Like, act confident. And know that if you can't figure it out, somebody in your company can figure it out, worst case scenario, right? I'm sure most of your owners, if I know everybody in here, are all electricians themselves and they all have many years in the field. They can figure it out if you absolutely can't. So be confident going in there, all right? Eye contact, smile. Don't wear sunglasses up to the house. Unless it's really, really cold, I wouldn't wear a coat. What looks better, your uniform or your coat? What's usually cleaner, your uniform or your coat? I want the neighbors to see my uniform. I want my customers to see my uniform. I really don't want them to see my coat. Now, I get it. If it's really cold, wear a coat. But once you get into the home, take the coat off right at the door. Has anybody ever had a friend come over to their house and wore their coat into their home and sat on the couch? Sometimes, but what does that mean when they do that? They're leaving soon. By you wearing a coat in the house shows the homeowner you're not going to be there long and you're leaving soon. I don't really want to make a friend. I'm just in and out. That's not what we're doing. We don't want to non-verbally tell that to our customer. So do not wear the coat in the house. Right when you enter the house, take your coat off. Either put it on the floor, a banister, ask the customer where to put it, whatever you want to do. Just don't walk through the house with a coat on. It signals to the customer that you're not going to be there long and you're not a friend. All right. Who all has ID? But you guys got like ID badges? If your company has ID badges, make sure you're wearing them. Make sure they're visible. Those are a huge, huge value builder. I remember when I went to one of the first ESI Profit Days and a guy got up there to speak and he was a roofer and he had a uniform and he had an ID badge. I thought that was the most professional thing I've ever seen. I'm like, a technician wearing an ID badge? That's crazy. With their picture and everything on there, it's extremely professional. Wear your ID badges if you have them. Okay? Do you guys have carpets? Do you guys bring carpets to the house, red carpets? Does anybody do that here? Okay. Make sure the carpet's clean. You don't want to unroll a carpet and dump dirt or whatever from your last call there. If it's full of cat hair, you don't want to bring cat hair from another person's house into this person's house, right? So make sure your carpet's clean. If you don't have a clean carpet, you're better off just skipping the carpet instead of bringing a dirty one into the house, okay? I would highly advise not wearing hats. I know people in here, some people love their baseball caps, but I'm just saying, lawyers don't wear baseball caps, doctors don't wear baseball caps. Professional, highly professional people just don't wear them. Now, it seems more and more companies are allowing them. I allow it at my company. I hate it, but just know, I believe you look less professional wearing them. That's all I'm saying. All right. Now, when you knock on the door, take 2 steps back, turn to the side. They open the door, right? We need to introduce ourselves, but we don't know who this person is answering the door, do we? This could be the homeowner, this could be the spouse, this could be the father-in-law, this could be the son, this could be the nanny, this could be who knows who this person is in front of me. So A, I don't know who's in front of me, and B, I don't know their name, and C, I don't know how they want to be addressed. So how do I fix all that? What's that? Yeah, introduce yourself. So it's my name is Kent and you are. Let them tell you how they want to be addressed. They'll say, your paperwork or your text message might come out as Jonathan Anderson. Well, if all of his friends call him John and nobody calls him Jonathan, and you walk in and you say, are you Jonathan Anderson? Or are you Jonathan? He's going to say yes, because he is Jonathan, but he's not probably going to correct you and say, call me John. He's just going to roll with it. So now the whole service call, you're calling him Jonathan, but yet you want to be his friend, but none of his friends call him Jonathan, they all call him John. Do you see a problem with this? How are we going to become friends when we're not even calling him the same name of his friends? So my name is Kent, and you are, and he'll say, oh, I'm John. Great. Nice to meet you, John. Now I'm calling him what his friends call him, and his family calls him. Or he might say, I'm Dr. Anderson. Oh, this guy wants to be called Dr. Anderson. Good to know. I probably wouldn't have said that otherwise, right? I have the story which I tell every time, and some of you probably heard this before, but I had a customer, I walked up to the door, knocked on the door, I go, hey, my name is Kent, and you are? And he goes, well, my friends call me Bugsy. I'm like, oh, can I call you Bugsy? And he goes, sure. From the first 5 seconds I arrived in that home, I am now calling him the nickname his buddies call him. How many calls would I have had to ran, and how much time would I have been in that house to get to the point that I could have started calling him the nickname his friends call him? Probably never. I probably never would have got there with this guy. But because I said my name is and you are, bam, now I got his nickname. And now I'm his friend. And now we're laughing, we're talking. And by the way, he was an extreme high I and would not shut up. But he fed me Mountain Dew and chocolate chip cookies, so I really liked the guy. And it was my first big sale I ever had. At the time, it was $8,000, which would be like $16,000 to $20,000 today. And it was my first big job I ever sold. And boom, my training worked. I got his nickname. I knew he was a high I from my training. I talked to him. I laughed with him, even though I'm a D. And I didn't want to laugh and talk that long, but I did anyway. And I sold a big job. Now, unfortunately, that customer passed away, but his wife still owns the house, and we still do work for her today. And that was like 10 years ago I went there. We still go to her house and do work. She's pretty old and elderly now, but it just goes to show, like, these little things, guys, these little things make the big difference. So my name is and you are. That's how you address when you come to the house. All right? Okay, now we have COVID, we have non-handshakers, we have handshakers. How do we know who's who, what's why? So when you walk up the door, my name is Kent and you are, you just put your hand up like this. So my name is Kent and you are. If they extend their hand, you can extend yours. If they don't extend their hand, drop your hand to the side. That way, if they are a handshaker, you can shake their hand. If they're not, you're not offending them by reaching out your hand and them having the awkward moment of them having to reach their hand out and shake your hand. All right? Have you ever been to a house where you've put your hand out and usually like a lady will barely grab it to shake your hand? She doesn't want to shake your hand. She's doing it because she feels like she has to. But she might give you that icky feeling, and now you're starting in the hole again. All right? Now you're some creepy guy. You don't want to be creepy guy. All right? So, my name is Kent, and you are? I'm John. If he doesn't extend his hand, drop it to the side. Nice to meet you, John. Or can I call you John? All right? Little things, guys, little things is what matters. Okay. Okay. Then after they do that, you can say, do you mind if you could turn, actually, before you do that, say, my name is Kent, and you are. You're like, I'm John. Nice to meet you, John. Then turn your back all the way around and point to the truck and say, is my truck parked okay? Why do you turn your back all the way around so your back is facing the customer? It's trust. Because built in our brain from medieval days is we do not turn our back on a stranger. We just don't do that. If we force ourselves to do that, it shows the customer that we trust them and they'll automatically trust us. So I wouldn't turn to the side and be like, hey, is my truck parked okay? Turn all the way around and be like, hey, is my truck parked okay over there? And turn back. It's amazing what these non-verbal things can do to build trust with your customer. All right? And obviously, if your truck is parked in a spot it shouldn't be, move it right then and there.